Hello everyone, I have here the LEGO Botanicals collection Orchid. It's based off a Phalaenopsis or Phalaenopsis, and I paid $50, 50 US for this and built the thing live over on Twitch. This set comes with exactly 0 minifigs and nobody is going to complain about that. It's an enjoyable build. I'd say that the build is as interesting as the finished product, if not even slightly more. At least for me it was, because I found many of the recolors to be interesting and exciting to get. And also just the build itself, the design is really good. There's some really cool part usage throughout this, and the entire build does start with the pot, which is thankfully included, and it is nice and thick and heavy, so it really holds this thing properly. You don't have to worry about it accidentally falling over. The best thing about the pot is that it doesn't have the typical LEGO glossy plastic finish and feel. It literally feels different than LEGO because of these slope pieces, which always have that little bit of texture on them that goes back at least to the 80s, if not to the 70s and before that. It's a really good choice here to grab that weird kind of ribbed style, vertically ribbed style, in order to get this texture, this surface texture. I think it totally was worth it, and it looks good. It's perfectly round. The way it all goes together adds a lot of weight and just elevates the whole feeling of the literal tactile feeling of the whole thing. These are those super overused helicopter canopy pieces recolored into dark green, which is great to see. And you got a couple of the roots just sticking out here using some fairly common pieces in olive, whereas the main leaves here are done with recognizable pieces and not too many of them, also in just solid dark green. There's also a step in the instructions where you just add the substrate to the pot in the form of loose bits. So this is just one very small 2-piece construction to represent a little bit of shredded bark. And mostly what's covered in here are just these loose, I believe they were originally done as Chima paw pieces colored in brown and dark brown. So you can arrange those around and basically hide away anything that you don't want to see. You know, all the stuff that was used to create the base for this to allow everything to plug in. And in the end, you don't have a whole lot of colors that you don't want to see anywhere in this entire build. I very much like the stakes that are included because, sorry about that, they not only add structure and stability to the model as a LEGO thing, but they also look realistic because anybody who's raising orchids like this will have stakes in the pot to make sure that everything comes out all nice and pretty and at the kind of angles that you want. So this definitely adds to the experience. Now you can see that the stems are mostly constructed with Technic pieces. Thankfully, we now have this pin piece with friction in the dark gray color and without friction in white, but it's so much better than having the no friction version in blue that we were stuck with for so long. And we've had them with no friction in light gray before, but you know, they've updated that a little bit. Thankfully, that's no longer color locked completely to the bad looking color. And then there are a bunch of recolored pieces in dark green, including this shoot piece right at the end, which is great to see. I definitely want to order like several hundreds of those to represent minifig scaled foliage of different types. So it's just good to have those. And because of the construction here, they actually give you suggestions for different ways to set up the stems to reshape the entire plant and all of its blossoms, to give you just some different looks, some different possible ways of displaying it, and you know, offer you up some choices for different basically just to give you some variety, so that not every single orchid plant that anybody builds from LEGO looks exactly the same necessarily. The blossoms are fantastic. Okay, great use of parts, great angles, great realism with these. You can put them at different angles, of course. Each one is built with the main petals here being the creature and character, or character and creature building system shoulder plates as used on the Star Wars large buildable action figures. You've got shields used for the sepals, top and lateral down here. The lip uses Bohrok eyes back from the Bionicle days in just a light pink. I think that's the light pink. And then this is the light magenta color for this gear piece, this lobed gear piece, also a very old Technic piece. And then new color of dark magenta for the frog there. And then the way that the shields to represent the sepals are connected is with a new color for a fork. It's just done in white, so it's really, really low profile. Doesn't stick out too much, rather than using something that would have been super obvious, like a pneumatic T piece or something. They recolored that part to keep it nice and low pro. And again, you end up with no colors that you don't want to see. A little bit of dark tan showing through for the axle piece, which has a stud at the end of it, at the other end, is fine. I mean, it's probably better to have that in that color than white, because you do want to have a little bit of color back here. So these end up looking believable from all angles. They end up looking respectable from all angles, even though they're flowers, orchids in particular, made from Lego. That is quite a feat, but it gets better. Because for little ones, they took the Stranger Things specialized mold, head mold, and recolored it to white and printed it. So you get the print there. And then for the tiny, tiny little bud over here is just a pink colored swirl piece from soft serve, or a cupcake. But that piece right there, the Demogorgon headpiece, was a real surprise to me to see when these were revealed. And the print is good. The print is really good. It's nice to see the veins in there. You get another one over here. And of course, again, you can change the overall arrangement of where the different flowers show up and how they're angled and everything. And just the net result is fantastic. And again, like I said, the pot has a lot of weight in it. So though, this is built up with a fair amount of massive plastic up above, there's enough down below, and this is wide enough that I have no concerns about this tipping over. If I just, it's always coming back. Like the engineering work here is actually fantastic. The engineering work is much better than I think most people will ever be able to appreciate, because it just works, which is exactly what you need. You don't want to have to think about it. You don't want to have to worry about it. And with this set, you just don't. You just build it per the instructions and you're good to go. Finally, the leftover part selection is almost disappointing to me, just because there are so many good recolors in this set, and I'm greedy and I want more. So this cost $50 US, 50. And incidentally, that's exactly the same price as the flower bouquet over here, which, keep in mind, did not come with the vase or the vase. Cannot overstate the value of the pot here and the inclusion of a pot, because with a product like this, you buy it and you have it. With a product like this, you buy it and you have it. Now, why did this cost twice as much as this? There's a lot of volume of stuff down here. These leaves take up a lot of space in the air. They take up a lot of airspace, but ultimately it's just a few pieces each. This does not feel like it's worth twice as much as this. Do I think that this is a fair price for the Orchid? I kind of would like it to be a little bit cheaper, but honestly, given how timeless it is going to be, how long it's going to last, how good it looks, how good the build was, the number of recolored pieces, just the care, the quality of it is top notch, top notch. If this had a bunch of parts that were, random colors that were super visible, then I would definitely have to dock it a lot. If it felt cheap, I would have to dock it a lot. The fact that they use the textured pieces down here is actually really, really smart. It makes the whole thing feel good, and it just looks good. The reconfigurability of it, this is good. This should not cost twice as much as this. At the time, I don't think I thought that this was quite as overpriced as I feel now. But this costing $50 minus all this stuff down here, I do have to revisit that, and I do have to double down on my insistence that a base should be included with these products. Because when I reviewed the flower bouquet, I did make a special point to note that it didn't come with a vase, did not come with a vase or a vase, and that kind of the product photography and the box art and everything was a little bit deceptive because they showed everything all nicely arranged. And the only honest way to get this all nicely arranged is to have a vase that is of an appropriate size with appropriate mouth and also some substrate in there so that you can actually do some arrangement with that. And a lot of people in the comments, a lot of the nasty comments you never see because they just get, vaporized or left to the void in moderation, because all comments on all of my channels are manually moderated. But a lot of folks are really vicious about just attacking me for pointing out the fact that this doesn't come with a vase and that takes away from its potential value. But I am definitely going to double down on that because this is a thing. I bought this and I have it. The bonsai, which I didn't bring in here, I bought, I built it, and I have it, and it's there. This, I bought, I built it, and it's there. This, I bought, I built it, and then I just had just a table full of loose flowers that are super, super, super top heavy. It's not even like regular, traditionally paper or, fabric based fake flowers where you can kind of put them in anything, tie a little rubber band, and everything is just kind of nice and neat. You can bend the stems and everything. It doesn't really matter too much what you put it into. This needs a lot of weight down low. It needs a lot of height for the vase. It needs a narrow enough neck as well. Not everybody in the world, contrary to the belief of some viewers, strangely, not everybody in the world has a vast collection of vases in their life, So this just wasn't a complete product, and this is absolutely a complete product here in every way, shape, or form. This is such a good gift to oneself or to a friend or family member or loved one, random person. You put this in any kind of setting. You can put it in a personal setting, a business setting. It just works. And it's interesting and it looks good. From a distance, a lot of people won't recognize that it's not real. I mean, seriously, from enough distance, depending upon the lighting, as long as you don't have lighting that's on it that's giving a specific reflection, specific glare in just the right direction, you might want to walk up to it and smell it. But by the time you get there, you'd be like, what? This is plastic. Oh, wait, what? What are these pieces? What is this system? Are those studs? This is Lego, for somebody who's not intimately familiar with the entire Lego system of parts. This has some weird parts on it. People who may have played with Lego as a kid and now they're an adult, or maybe they just dabble a little bit even as an adult, might not recognize this as a Lego until they look at it really, really closely and notice the studs on just a handful of pieces. This is just so good in so many flippin' ways. I am absolutely, completely, and utterly impressed and happy with it, and will be happy to keep this one long term. I am a little bit biased, liking plants and all, liking flowers, liking orchids in particular, though I never got super, super duper into them. I did raise a couple myself in my younger days, but it's just so good in so many ways, and at the very least, a fantastic parts pack. Can't wait for all those recolors to become available on Bricks and Pieces, or now it's online Pick a Brick again / Bricklink or whatever. Such good stuff. Really enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it as well, and I'll talk to you again soon.